Welcome to Let's Talk Games. My name is Daniel. This is in the middle. You have Chunt,
Hi.
and on the right you got Jamie.
Yo.
It's very early here in Sydney and getting quite late in the UK where Jamie is. So, forgive us for that. Today we're going to talk about a little bit of PlayStation, a little bit of Xbox, and what we should probably start with what we've been playing for the week. Jamie, why don't you go first?
Switching it up. I was expecting last. I've played a good bit this week. I played more Destiny, as to be expected. I played Ori and the Blind Forest, so I went back to that as we were kind of indicating last week that Will-o'-the-Wisp was coming out, and I wanted to finish the last level that I never did on Xbox, and it didn't carry my save over. So I downloaded the definitive edition on PC and getting to play through it all again, and it's even better than I remember it, so I'm not actually bothered that my save file got lost because it's enchanting. So yeah, I'm about 6 hours back through that now. Hopefully get that finished over the weekend and then start Will-o'-the-Wisps next week. But yeah, nothing else. They've been the only two things that I've managed to click into this week. Been too busy, actually paying attention to what's going on in the industry this week. It's been a bit of a heavy week.
I wonder how many weeks it's going to go before, when people are watching this, when people are going to get sick of you saying, well, I played Destiny this week, and me saying I played 2K this week.
That's just part and parcel of it, isn't it? If you don't play the games you want to play, then what's the point?
Well, going off that, I played my 2K this week. I also played, I don't know, maybe Chunt, maybe it's your influence on me, but I decided to play a new game this week, and I finished it in 2 nights. So I played What Remains of Edith Finch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
nice.
just going back into all the PlayStation Plus purchases that I've downloaded but never played. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll play that game. I put down here in my notes, as the way to describe it, it's a reflective adult storybook.
Of course it is.
It's really moody. Like, it's quite, I don't want to say depressing, because I feel like that's not indicative of it, but it is really heavy, but it's told in this storybook art form. Like, as you walk along, the pages of the story come to the front, and there's just a voiceover telling you everything that's happened with this house and this family. And I don't know, it was really, really cool. But I'm glad it's only I don't know, maybe 6-8 hours long.
Oh, that's all right.
Maybe less. But I don't know if I could make it go any longer, if I could play it any longer.
Yeah.
Because it would really, really put you in a down place, which is weird considering this week that for escapism of all the real shit that's happening, I just read about some other bad shit, and it makes me not think about it.
Bad shit is a fact of life. It is.
Yeah. So, Chunt, how about you? How have you been going with gaming days?
Yeah, good. Team Sonic Racing is longer than I thought it was, man. Like, I'm going through the campaign or story mode, whatever, and for a racing game, it's it just keeps giving me another chapter just when I thought I was getting to the end. So I just do that as I'll throw that on after work for an hour or whatever and just get through a chapter. Really enjoying it, man. More than I thought I was, and more than I thought I would. But otherwise, I got stuck in the Doom 2016 again last night because of all the hype of Doom Eternal, and I nearly pulled the trigger on Eternal, but I booted up my save that I hadn't finished the campaign yet. The save is dated some point in 2016, so I figured I probably should finish this before I even consider buying the new one, because that's just dumb. And yeah, man, it's hectic. I forgot how fast that game is and just how intense it is. And it's amazing on 100 inches on the wall, just gotta say. And so that was melting my brain last night. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been into this week.
How far
Do we
through
have
you gotten?
Well, see, I don't know, because I think I stopped playing about halfway through the campaign. It feels like I'm in the middle somewhere because now I'm starting to get to see all this behind the scenes stuff of the facility where there's all these like tablets and I found a secret office where I'm like opening all the doors and shit, and there's all these big baddies coming out now, and I think I'm getting on the way to the end, and that hologram dude that keeps greeting everywhere, he's now speaking in tongues, and there's like a demonic voice talking to him in the recordings and shit. So it sounds like I'm getting close to the end, I think, or at least not too far away.
Do we have any plans for what we're playing this week?
I just want to finish Ori.
Doom. Oh, I need to get that done this weekend. I think that's my game to do this weekend.
I did kind of like playing a little small game, like just in 2 nights. So I'm going to see what other ones I got on the PlayStation Plus and just knock another one out.
As you do.
That's what she said.
But that's good though, man. It's good to have the surprise of I've done that. That's half the reason why I played some of the short games I've done recently, where I've just got into my full library or whatever in my Xbox, and it includes your Game Pass and your Xbox Live Gold stuff, and you just forget all the games that you've got redeemed through Xbox Live Gold. And you're like, oh, nice. Yeah, I'll just throw that on and I'll put that on my list. And, it's a real good problem to have.
I might even try one of those Sonic games, Chunt.
Do it. Do
it. All right. Well, to move along, it was a big week in games considering nothing is happening in the world because everyone's in quarantine. Jamie, you might want to lead this one off with PlayStation's event that they had this week, if you want to call it an event.
Yeah, so the only reason that it is me doing this is because I was the only one that was awake when it was happening. So yeah, it was early evening time, UK time, that it happened, and I don't think we need to beat a dead horse. Anybody that may be watching probably has a similar opinion of the event was always going to be tech focused. It was supposed to be a GDC talk. However, PlayStation communicated it as some kind of reveal, and the minute that they put the word reveal in there, everybody got hyped and excited. You've got the massive outlets start pushing live streaming and live commentary over the event, and it's like it came to it and everybody was just bored shitless. And that's not to detract from the fact that the technology that PlayStation have created is great. Like, it seems really brilliant, but I don't think anybody needed to hear about it in that granular of a detail. And in my opinion, a massive misstep. You shouldn't be throwing the word reveal around anywhere near the PlayStation 5 only to come in and go, here's a bunch of numbers. I'm Mark Cerny and I'm going to give you nightmares for the next 3 weeks, which is pretty much what happened for me. The man terrifies me. Genius, absolute genius, but his voice really, it gives me goosebumps. He's not a pleasant fellow to listen to for an hour, and I was pretty disappointed that I didn't get that hour back. So that was where I left it. Some of what they're doing is brilliant, very similar to what Xbox are doing. Massive focus on SSDs and ray traced audio, or 3D audio engine as they're calling it, a Tempest engine that they're building. Seems interesting. But until they can calibrate it to the ears of every single PlayStation owner, it's not going to be what it's supposed to be. It's very early doors tech, so as Mark certainly said, that's an ongoing project for the years to come. So we'll see where they get to with it. But yeah, a lot of focus around SSDs, load times, as we probably expected. That seems to be the way that this next generation is going to be going. So if it's anything like what Xbox showed with Quick Resume, win-win for anybody who's picking up a PlayStation. But the event as a whole, yeah, I don't think it needed to be seen by the mass audiences. I think it could have been kept to a small developer thing. Put it out for devs. Don't host it on the PlayStation channel and go, come watch this live. Like, it could have just been a VOD that went up and was like, this is for our developer friends, and anybody else is happy to watch it if need be. And we'll probably have to touch on the fact that there were definitely still animated silhouettes of people to make a pretend audience.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been deciphered whether they were actual humans or not yet, but the way that they moved indicates they were animated silhouettes.
Yeah,
and,
I think it was.
the Cernitron 3000, as Jim Sterling called it, was quite hilarious. The backdrop was not that convincing, but you forgot it was there after a while, and fell asleep to the musings of his voice and his numbers. So
I think what they wanted to make the stream appear as is not what it came across. Like, they wanted to be like, this was a GDC talk, and we're just going to put in the people that would normally be there at the talk, and it was just marketed all wrong.
That's the problem.
They should have just
the information they given wasn't wrong.
They should have just dropped it like without warning and being like, "This is what we're going to say at GDC. Watch it for your pleasure if you want to," and that's it.
Yep.
Not make a big deal of it.
Didn't need any marketing. The mistake they made was telling people it was coming and using the word reveal, because people have been waiting with bated breath to see what PlayStation's up to, and that being your first swing out of the gate is not a good look. Although I'm sure they'll recover.
One
just
good game announcement pretty much wipes away all that. So
that's what I mean. As soon as they say that, Spider-Man 2 or the sequel to Horizon or anything, this will
just show the console.
Yeah, I mean, I saw something earlier today indicating that something that might have actually given a bit more weight to it was if they demoed some of this tech working with an upcoming game, even if that is like a Knack 3, which because then you've got Mark Cerny on stage. Knack's his game. It's like, oh, I'm going to use this to explain to you all of this stuff that I'm talking about, but he didn't. He used a couple of quite poor diagrams to try and point arrows to things of how systems on chips work and how the lanes talk to one another, which to us it's not of any interest. I mean, way too granular, and I think there was better news that came out this week. Xbox had quite a big week as well, so probably move on to that, I reckon, and let Chunt tell us what he thinks there.
Start of the console wars. Chunt representing Xbox. Go ahead.
Well, what do you mean? How can you tell I'm representing Xbox? I mean, it's not very clear, is it? Look, I think everybody's looked at Austin Evans' videos and Digital Foundries and all that stuff, so they've gone into very, very depth levels about what it is, but I'm just going to pick out what stood out to me and what I'm looking for. So I got a few points here. I'll probably just rattle on a little bit for each one. I'll try to keep it succinct as possible. So back when talks and all the stuff was coming out, Phil Spencer has been saying they won't be beaten in power, and it looks like that is true. But he also said they wouldn't be beaten in price, but that's to be determined. After seeing what this is all about, I'm a bit one of those nerd sweats came down of like, oh, this is going to be expensive. But I'll spread them. So one of my
what are you spreading?
Anything I need to get one. So one of the first things that got me of like, it's just hyped and it's just dumb, but memory cards, man. Like, I know they're not memory cards, but I'm going to call them memory cards. The 1 terabyte NVMe custom SSDs. I think that's awesome. I loved the memory cards all my life, and it just reminds me of the 360 era where we had memory cards there as well as the proprietary hard drive. So to me, it's just a bit nostalgic, but also flipping on the other side with what PS5 announced with their SSD compatibility options. I don't give a shit about that. Like, I don't want to be mucking around and getting an approved hard drive or making sure that it works, or if it's going to be the most optimal one. I'm in the crowd of I don't mind having to buy a custom proprietary hard drive for my console. The 360 had it on the original model and in the slim model. So it just makes sense for them to do it again. It just cuts out any confusion. I just think it's another consumer-friendly option. Knowing me and my hazards with computers, particularly this one, if I go out and had a PS5 and buy a drive, chances are I'm going to choose the wrong one. It's not going to be compatible or something, even though I've read the specs. But I just think that's pretty important, that one. And the memory card itself is the same thing as in the console, so you're not losing any speed or ability with it. So it's all pluses all around. All of the flops, man, all of them. Like, I know it's only about 2 more than what the PS5 has in the GPU, but it's still all the flops. And to me, the number means it's better and appeals to my tribalized brain. So it's great to see the big swinging dick of Xbox coming back after 5 years of catching up. So
we should be honest.
Yeah, I can't be anything but honest, mate. I can't be anything but. And so they still might be able to use that whole tagline that they do of like games are better on Xbox or whatever. So that appeals to my ego. Next, I'm just going to fly through this a little bit. The actual design of the controller and the console, I'm a big fan of it. I know a lot of people aren't, but I just like how it's just like this monolith that just sits there in your unit, your entertainment space, of like just this presence of this tall like monolith obelisk thing that just powers everything you need from like the whole history of Xbox. Backwards compatible fully. I'll touch on that. But one thing with the actual console, I was a little disappointed with. It's the no green LED on top, but then I guess it makes sense not to have it, because if it's just sitting there in my unit and I'm trying to watch or play something, I don't want this green light shining out my wall as a distraction. So I guess that's fine. But they did this really cool cutaway or cutting into the mold of the console where you look over the top of it at an angle, or as you're looking at it, and it looks like there's like a green top on there to hide the fan, this giant fan. The more you look directly on top, you'll see the fan and shit. But I think just the engineering of this thing, it's just very cool, and it's dense. And I don't know. People have a problem with it, saying it's too huge. But when you look at it, it's no taller than the S and X models of the Xbox One, and it's about 1.5 times as tall as the actual controller. So it's not that big, man, when you think about it. It's not going to take up. It's got a relatively small footprint. Like if you just put a controller down flat, that's pretty much how much space it's going to take standing up. And the controller itself is a little smaller. I'm a little disappointed about that because I've got relatively big hands, and I love the Duke, of course. And I understand they want to make that a bit inclusive to have more people be able to play. I don't understand how people can't use the current one controller. Even that one feels like it's getting a bit small, but I think mainly it's just around the top where they've shaved it off a bit. Fine, whatever. More people get to play. I'll ask you at the end of all this, but the people are losing their minds that it's still only AA batteries. I'm personally fine with that because I've got random AA battery chargers around the place, and you can use your Xbox One play and charge kits over with this one as well. So it's not like you're losing much or you're going to be affected any. And I would prefer replacing my batteries rather than the controller when it's done. That's just my mindset, but whatever. We'll go into that later. Backwards compatible. It does everything the Xbox One does, basically. None of this top 100 stuff, or maybe the top 100 games on whatever. It's like whatever your Xbox One does and plays, and the peripherals, this will do that as well and make it all look better and run better and all that kind of stuff, which is just like, I'm spreading it further, mate. So look, that's all just, these are the main things that got me excited. I know there's a lot more of the innards and more technical stuff and everything, but as an Xbox player, this is what got me like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So I don't know, your guys thoughts on any of that? I'd be interested to know, or any extras. I'll take it to you,
Jamie.
I think
you first.
I feel much the same. It's a very, very nice piece of hardware. I don't see the huge sell in terms of their first party yet, which, as I said to you, like you guys over the last few weeks, anything that comes to Game Pass I can play on PC. It doesn't give me a reason to own this box. At the minute, the reason for me to own that box is because my Xbox died 6 months ago now, rip. And there was no need for me to replace that then, but I have a library of like 350 games that I can bring forward on this machine. That's enticing. The memory card thing is enticing, but as we'll get onto, like the actual viability of expandable memory for these machines is not going to be as simple as people think, where it might be simple to swap out and plug and play. All you've got to do is look at the cost of a PCI 4 NVMe at the moment, and you'll immediately say, I don't need that. Yeah, I really don't need that. And it's not going to be any different for the consoles, I don't think. So yeah, nothing to add to what you've said, Chunt, really. I think the innards, yeah, the way it's packed, the design around the motherboard is incredible. It's a real nice piece of engineering. There was obviously the leak as well about the whole Thanksgiving thing, which I think was probably intended to go out before all of the coronavirus stuff, and now they've gone, wait, no, buy us that extra few weeks because we don't know where we're going to be.
Yeah,
but yeah, we'll see where they get to. The quick resume thing that was astonishing, seeing it in action, just being like, that's incredible. Like, obviously, even if I tried to do that now on a high-end PC, have say 2 video games running and just flick between the two, it wouldn't, like, it'd hurt. I'd be dropping frames. I'd be stuttering. It would not be cool. So the fact that they've managed to figure that out, again with the using the SSD to do so is pretty insane, and the fact that it can survive a power cycle is even more impressive. So we'll see where they get to with that. But yeah, you've nailed everything on there, mate. I guess, Dan, for you, obviously, what you felt about what Xbox have done, but if you compare that to maybe the way, as Team PlayStation, quote unquote, how you see what they've done so far and how they need to get their message into where Xbox would be quite a cool perspective.
This is one of those weeks where I feel like I'm back at university, and in week 1 they said, "Hey, you're going to get to watch this movie in week 10 or whatever," and you're like, "Oh, cool." But then you have to go through 9 weeks of all this technical shit, and I'm like even for today, I've been writing everything down and being like, "Ah, fuck, I don't know what any of this means." So it probably appeals to you guys more. But anyway, I'll give it my best shot. But Chunt, I would actually say, one, with the design of the X series, I reckon it's probably the most appealing one that I've ever seen that Microsoft's made. Because Microsoft's always been a software company, so building hardware was never where they always put in their money.
Yeah,
and they had some nice looking consoles, but it was me playing PlayStation most of my time, but having an Xbox 360 and an Xbox One. Like, PlayStations were always slim, except for the initial PS3 and like the big bulky one that costs $600 USD or whatever. But every other one they've just slimmed it down. Whereas you're right, with this X, it's kind of the console you just build your living room around. You'll find a spot for it, as long as it can, which I think Phil Spencer said it can, as long as you can put it down sideways.
Yeah,
you can.
And you just make sure the fan gets ventilation, then you're fine. I reckon it's the best one they've made. Yeah, I haven't heard people going crazy about the batteries, but one, they're batteries. I personally like recharging my controllers. I've never had to use batteries for controllers, really, because PS3 and PlayStation 4 have always been rechargeable, and I always buy 2 controllers at launch, and then put them on a dual charger, and then so I've always got one controller ready to go. Yeah. So I've always done it that way, so I've never run into those issues. But no, I think Xbox just are doing it the right way, and they're going to continue doing it the right way, and good for them. That's good. So I'm going to whiz through this stuff because, I I probably don't even know half the things I'm saying. I'm probably just going to more talk about the things I found either I was curious about or that I found interesting as to why they did what they did. So, speaking of the SSDs, Jamie, like you said, it was interesting that they've gone with the 825 gigabytes of the SSD, and it's not
But
the
is that
typical
what's
terabyte.
available? Is that
Yeah.
available storage? Is that why they're messaging it like that? So is it 825 gigabytes is what you will have to store games on, and say the other 175 gig is the operating system, etc.?
So this information is coming from Digital Foundry, and what it says in the article is the most optimal match for the 12-channel interface is the 825 gigs. In short, Sony had more freedom to adapt its design. We can look at the available NAND flash ports and construct something with optimal price performance. So that tells me they're trying to keep the PlayStation on the cheap as much as possible, but get as much out of it as they possibly can. Unless I'm reading that wrong, but that's how that reads to me.
That's going to be 5 games. This next gen, that's 5 games stored on a hard drive max.
So this is another weird thing. So we've heard in the previous, we've heard previously how if you buy a game like Call of Duty, as an example, and you only want to play the single player, games will allow you to only download the single player or download the multiplayer. So that will help a lot of consoles be better at saving space on their hard drives. I'm also the type of person that will just delete a game because
same.
Yeah, this is hard. So I have my original launch PS4. I have not upgraded the hard drive at all, so I just delete games as I don't need them. And I know people shouldn't have to do that. Like, if you want to expand it, that's fine. And that probably leads on to the expandable memory, where the way I read it from reading the Digital Foundry article is right now there's not really any SSDs that are compatible with the PlayStation 5. By the time it launches, there will be some out there, and then early into next year it'll be available. So, take that with what you will. Because I know some people, when they got their PS4s, they just went out because when they found out the PS4 was very easily
they just gutted it.
Because you just basically take off the cover, unscrew it, and put a new one in. People just go out straight away and get the expandable storage. So the way they were talking about all that was interesting to me, even though I didn't fully understand it, but that's okay. I'm just saying I don't really care about that. That's fine. One thing they talked about in the article as well was the PS5 boost. They were basically saying that the PS5 is unlike phones or current consoles. When it starts to overheat, the workload of the machine starts to lower. They were saying that all with this boost thing of the PlayStation 5, no matter the environment, and no matter what the temperature might be, that the PlayStation 5 will continue to run as it always is. A lot of the other stuff. Oh, and also Mark Cerny really wants to look into our ears. And that
ear fetish.
But I think a lot of the other stuff was interesting, because I didn't even do these as like my top 5. These were just different talking points, and some of them were touched upon when you were speaking about Xbox, John, where the top almost the top 100 games being backwards compatible and stuff. That was a small little note that was mentioned, which was passed on very quickly. I wonder if they don't.
I bet.
On purpose.
Yeah, I think we were talking in a chat, not on the podcast, where after these 2 reveals, I have not moved in. Like, my opinion on either has changed at all. Like it's still like, oh, Xbox is still marketing well. The box looks like a really good box, and PlayStation are doing a weird thing, and I don't feel like I have all the information yet. And even after these two reveals this week, I think I'm in exactly the same position as I was a week ago.
Sitting
Just
on the
with-
fence.
Just with more information that I
Yeah,
don't
just
know.
more informed than you were last week, but knowing no more answers. I think
Yeah.
very much. I wouldn't say the same. I think I'm more sold on the Xbox than I was a week ago. Just seeing it working. I know what it looks like. I know what it's going to do. I know what its capabilities are. Know how fast it is. Looks like a genuine next gen leap. PlayStation. They're just doing some weird stuff. Even in the way that they were speaking, like you said, they glossed over the whole back compat thing. I've got a feeling that's maybe because they're saving it. There was a PS2 and PS3 logo appeared when they were talking about legacy modes, but they only mentioned PS4 back compat and only with most of the 100 games at launch, top 100 PS4 games, which I guess is going to include the stuff people want to play, your God of Wars, Horizons, the first
Pretty much
stuff,
anything
Last
that has
of
a
Us.
sequel. Pretty much anything that has a sequel
anything
on
that people do
PS5.
want to play is probably going to be in that top 100. But people who say have libraries bigger than that, their games are not necessarily going to come forward with them. If you're well into some weird obscure game that you play every day that you're like, oh, if I buy a new PlayStation, I can just keep playing that there, and you can't, that's maybe not that cool. But I think they're holding something back there. They're holding a lot back, and I think they've burned a bit of goodwill, in terms of going, oh, they don't really need to say anything now. They can wait and just hit it out of the park. I think now people will be expecting, wait, the next thing they tell us about this, they actually need to tell us something because you've just taken a bunch of our time and said nothing. So with fence sitters or people who are not, predisposed to either side of the coin, I think they've maybe lost a little bit of goodwill there. But I think the SSD thing, we had that down to obviously discuss. If you look at the moment, so for me in the UK, if I look for an NVMe SSD with speeds akin to what they're putting in the PlayStation 5, that's PCI 4, to put in my computer, which on a Ryzen board, it will work. So, for example, you could do the same thing. Our chipsets in our PCs are the same. You could buy the exact same thing, right? So for me, that's £430 to buy a 1 terabyte version of that. I'm expecting in the UK these consoles to be about £450, maybe 500. That's nearly doubling the price of the console to add a terabyte of storage. Now, obviously, the price of storage when it first becomes available is insane. It'll go down. The NVMe 3.0 drive that I've got in my PC 2 years ago would have been £200. Now it's £100. Do you know what I mean? Like, they will get cheaper. And especially as more people start making them. As I said, they're not readily available now. Only a few on the market. But yeah, that concerns me a lot. Like the Xbox ones, maybe because they're proprietary, they'll be getting some kind of bulk deal from Seagate, who looks to be the partner on it.
Yep.
Even so, if they turn around and go, so yeah, you can have another terabyte, but it's £200. What? Like half the price of the console for a bit more storage? Like you do start to just go, how viable is this to the mass consumer? Yes, there's enthusiasts that'll do it. Yes, there's probably Chunt, you and I, that'll do it and get more storage eventually. But we've got to remember that I wouldn't class any of the three of us as the 90% of players, right?
No.
Because we care about it a bit more. We're more invested in the industry, in the space. We have been for years and years and years. So people like us, we might want the best, or we might want the most efficient way of doing things. But I don't see that as affordable. And when I start translating those costs for you guys, like are either of you going to tell me you're going to go and whack $700 on some more expandable memory?
Yeah,
well, I just looked it up. So because the Australian dollar is so crap at the moment because of everything, £450 is about 900 Australian dollars.
Yeah, but then you move for for market cap, like it would never be exactly what it is. But yeah, it's still silly. I mean, you could probably look now. I haven't looked at the Australian prices. If you look for a NVMe SSD PCIe 4 on any site in Australia, it'll tell you how much they are. I'm imagining they're going to be around $700 or $800, but that's not realistic. You know, when you think about this generation, yes, don't get me wrong, the spinning hard drives or even a flash drive, you know, standard flash drives, they're still expensive. Like a USB-C flash drive of 500 gigabytes is still not cheap.
Yeah.
So that you're spinning classic hard disk drives, which are sufficient for this gen, where they may be quite slow. They were affordable. That was one thing that made expanding especially on Xbox. You could just plug in any USB 3 drive and have full system speed. If not in most cases quicker. I actually got to a point with my Xbox where I was running off a 1 terabyte SSD, and the games were loading faster because it was quicker than the hard drive that was in the Xbox One X. And it was affordable. I just don't see it being affordable this next generation. I think it's a hiccup that either needs to be overcome, or the manufacturers need to, Sony are letting you use whatever. I don't know whether they're going to have a Sony branded version of this down the line, but Microsoft need to make theirs affordable. They really do.
Yeah, they probably might, as you mentioned with the bulk order, that would hopefully drop it down. But the other thing is, if you're a Sony enthusiast, you'd have to make sure that out of the whatever types of options you've got, that you get the most optimal one if you really want the best experience. I don't know how all that's going to work, because if you bought one,
what I've just outlaid is what's optimal. So optimal for them is the speed of I think it was 5.5 gigabytes per second was the speed on what's inside the machine. A NVMe PCIe 4.0 at the moment, right now, you can't get anything slower than that. So they're only going to get quicker. So what they need to stop people doing is the mass audience going out there and just typing NVMe SSD or M.2 drive into Amazon, into eBay, and clicking the cheapest thing, because it's not instantly apparent whether that's working on a PCI 3 lane or a PCIe 4 lane. So it's these little things that are PC grade conversations. These are conversations that people building PCs have. Dan, you have an NVMe SSD. Do you know what it is?
No.
Exactly, but you've got one. It's in your PC. Yeah. But you didn't have to check and go, oh, does this work? Because I did that for you. It does work. But it's one of those conversations conversations that console players don't expect to need to have. Do you know what I mean?
I don't want that shit.
No, it's just that's why I plug this in and it plays.
Yeah, I'm happy.
That's why I built your part list for you too, because I know it works.
Yeah.
But no, these are conversations that the point I'm getting at is this is a conversation that everyday users will not have, shouldn't have to have, and in that way, I agree with you, Chunt. Xbox are doing it right. If you're going to do it, just proprietary memory. It doesn't have to be stupidly expensive. Sony they've never been able to do it not expensive. My arsehole still hurts from Vita memory cards. Let's be real. They've never ever had a situation whereby they've been affordable. Even the PSP, the proprietary memory there, was daft. And that didn't it move to a point where it actually just started taking memory stick then? It wasn't proprietary anymore in the second generation of PSPs, but they've never had good form for it. So I can understand why they've gone, just support mass market. We don't want that again. But in this instance, it probably would have been more sensible, rather than asking the general consumer to go buy PC parts and put them into their PS5.
Make the course of entry as easy as possible.
That's what I mean. Yeah, and if you start confusing people, they're not going to be interested. And internet speeds around the world are not currently great everywhere. I don't know how long it takes you guys to download a 150 gigabyte game, but I've got pretty damn good internet, and I'm still looking at a couple of hours to download 150, 160 gigabytes. So these people that are on 20 megaseconds still, some places even slower than that. They're going to download a game onto their amazingly fast hard drive. It's going to take them 4 days to do it. Just got to be careful with that kind of stuff. You've got to be consumer friendly whilst at the same time pulling things forward. So I hope they do make it as easy for PS5 owners as possible. But the first time they've not done proprietary memory, that it's probably the wrong choice.
Just on that, I just pulled up a CNET article just saying how Kazakhstan has faster internet than Australia. This is on 29th of July. We're at what are we? 68th in the world down here in Australia.
Yeah.
What's the average speed for Australia?
Let's have a look. Rank below. Someone vamp while I look this up.
So I saw an article yesterday that the government is appealing to Netflix, Stan, and game companies and others to try and throttle back their streaming and what it needs, like their bitrate and all that kind of stuff during this time as well. Which
that's happening here as well. That's happening in the UK.
Yeah, it's everywhere. But man, the NBN, like it's never been stable, And now we're going through here this event in Australia, and it's like far out.
I do believe that in Europe, Netflix have agreed to do it. Netflix have agreed that they'll do something in Europe to.
They're going to lower their resolution for.
Well, they're going to lower the bitrate, not the resolution.
The bitrate, yeah.
It'll still mean that there's a bit of a degradation in quality, but you shouldn't notice it too much unless you're sat on top of your screen, which at the moment I am. But if I'm watching Netflix, I'm on the TV on the couch. So.
Yeah.
So average download speeds in Australia 41 megabits per second. That's the average.
Is it?
Yeah. Compare that.
That's higher than I thought.
The US, which is 130, and the UK is about 3 megabytes faster. That being said, Australia has the 6th ranked mobile internet in the world at 67. So
4G's been pretty banging in Australia for a while now.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
All right, so let's move on from this discussion. There's some other news that happened, and we'll try and keep it quick. Chunt, you want to start off with your topic?
So mental health, it's real. I don't know about you, but I have it.
We all do.
I was gonna say, is someone out there arguing that mental health isn't real? Like it doesn't exist?
There are a lot of people in denial out there. But look, I think I'll touch on it a little bit where just to roll it in with a bit of a flex with my hometown of Rockhampton. Reached out to me on social media and was like, hey, we need an expert to talk about mental health and self-isolating and gaming and how that pertains to it. And I was both chuffed and insulted at the same time, because it's like, it was I the go-to person to be like, you know what, we need a loser that knows everything about this. We've got this guy on file, let's get in. But I don't think it was anything like that. But I was pretty chuffed about it. I was at work and I got the message and I was like, oh yeah, sweet, all right. Bent over backwards, man. I was in a pinch. They're like, yeah, we need this before 5 o'clock. And I'm like, well, you messaged me at 2. About 1:30, and I'm at work and whatever. I gave them a really nice write-up, and I had to get a photo done when I got home about 4:30. And they're like, we'll see if that photo is good enough. We'll just use this one on file if it's not. I'm like, which one is that? And it's like, oh, we've got one from like this other article that we'll use with you sitting at your gaming setup about 6 years ago. And I'm like, all right, that's going to be irrelevant. And it's, whatever. If you want to, I'm talking about Doom and other games in my write-up, and you want to put like Halo 5 or something on your paper. Okay. Very good. Anyway, it was a good experience, and I'm pretty chuffed that they thought to reach out to me on that one. So it's a little small flex. Hopefully they do it more in future, because as I talked about, my ego is a thing and it appealed to me. And that going into that with ego and mental health, man, we're all going to be doing this stuff. There's people that are going to be playing games now that they just normally wouldn't, with all this world stuff that's going on. And almost everybody has something like a 360 or a PS3 still hooked up as their main media thing, or a PS4 and a Xbox One. I was just chatting to someone last night in this group that I got added to, and she's still using a VCR Xbox One. So all these people have this thing sitting in their box, and now they're stuck at home, and they're going to be getting some games and trying to distract themselves from the world and being isolated. And like one of the questions I was asked was, do you think online gaming can be helpful in regards to mental health? And it has been helpful for years. Like even just with us, like, you know, I moved away from family and friends, and I live on my own now in a city where no one's here, and you know, I can hop online and catch up with you guys, or you know, run a few strikes with Jamie, and he's in the UK, and even just that for me, it makes a world of difference, because I'll have my days here. I'm just like, what the hell am I doing? You know, I'm talking in my own head, and you know, I'm internalizing everything because I don't have anyone to come home to, and you know, kind of verbal diarrhea to them about my day or thoughts or anything. So just even with social media itself, it's, you know, it's not gaming, but just being able to reach out. And online gaming, you know, it's all about that, man. Like no longer are we doing the stuff where we're on the couch, you know, couch co-op things. It's all online now because all of us have grown up and moved our separate ways, and it's the only way we can kind of do that and have that same experience. And you know, relive some of the old times. You know, there's so much darkness in the world, and I know there's a lot of still a stigma against gamers and gaming, and you know how it's not quite as bad as it used to be as far as social acceptance goes, but it's still there. Like, oh, you play games in your spare time? Like this guy at work, he's a new fellow, and I was asking him about, oh, so what do you play anything like that? He goes, I don't play games. Games are for kids, and he's like younger than me. I'm like, games aren't for kids. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I've been playing games since bloody Sonics and Mario are running around. And anyway, so there's all that going on. But for self-isolating reasons, man, if you're stuck in a house for 2 weeks or a month or 6 months, imagine the kind of games and experiences you could have that you never had if you were not a gamer before. Like just me that we talked about last couple of weeks of like Limbo and Senua's Sacrifice. I would never have played those, you know, unless I was stuck at home and thought about playing something for a quick jaunt. And I did. That's exactly what I did, and I loved it. And I haven't played those, and they've been out for years. And like, Senua's Sacrifice is all about you know, psychological and psychosis and mental health stuff, and even Celeste is another one. You know, it's pretty much all about that. And games are the only kind of art form out there that, you know, can take you away to do these things and experience other things, and you have a tactile control of that experience. And the gaming is, I think, one of the more important platforms or you know, activities that you can do stuck at home or even just in life in general. Because of like Jamie, you would never have gone to Mercury and, you know, running strikes, you know, on this current planet that we're on. And me, I would never be chainsawing locusts in half. You know, like you can release in certain worlds that you'd never be able to experience before. And I can only think that this is only going to make gaming bolstered more when you've got people that don't play games and they're going to try something. They're going to open up the store on their PSN or their Xbox and be like, all right, I'm bored as hell. I've got Xbox Live. What's free? You know, I'll give some free games a go. Or, yeah, and then they might just find their new favorite game. I think this is going to be hard going forward for a lot of industry, right? But I think gaming might come out on at least a little better faring than some of the other ones because it's so instant access and you can just buy something. Like if you're lucky enough to still have a job after all this or during it, if you played like a free game and there's a sequel that you have to pay for, it's like, all right, I enjoyed that. I'm going to pick that up and do that again because I'm not doing anything today. Look, I'm very positive. I'm trying to be positive about all this stuff. It's and that's what gaming is for, right? Like I think in my personal life, I'm not going to get into it on stream, but there's stuff going on with friends I know and family that are going to be suffering with what's happening at the moment. And I think this kind of an outlet is only going to benefit people that are going to go through that kind of stuff. So I say to anybody that's going to be stuck at home, just do the right thing. You know, stay at home. You're going to have fun. You're not going to be alone because you can hop online and catch up with your friends. And, you know, you're not going to get anyone else sick or risking yourself. So, yeah, just have fun. That's what I think.
Then you also got to take into consideration when they talk about online. It's not just playing games together. Like we can all go play Cyberpunk later this year and be like, "Oh my god, I need to talk to someone about how amazing this game is."
Yep.
And then you communicate through whether it's a Facebook or create a podcast or whatever you want to do. It's the best way that people can communicate, given a time that you're all locked in houses, but you can all have similar experiences and talk about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Also, what we're doing now.
Exactly what we're doing now. It'll be interesting to see what Sony and Microsoft put out as the free games with Gold and Plus for April.
Yeah, true.
I was thinking of that the other day.
Just thinking
The deals,
about
man,
the
already
capitalization on it. I wouldn't want to think there's profiteering that it's that they're doing it for the good of people, but exactly what you're saying, Chunt. If they during this situation have more people playing than normal, and they give them, all right, do you know what? I know it's on Game Pass and stuff, but let's stick Halo in the free games this month, or on PlayStation. It's like, oh, let's stick Last of Us in there, or let's stick Horizon on there. Do you know what I mean? Like, give them a big blockbuster on it, let them play it, get them bought into the ecosystem, and then come the end of this year, when hopefully we are out of the worst of all of this and these new consoles hit, those people are more likely to go, I had a really good time with that. I want the next thing, like where maybe they wouldn't have thought about it. Does it help elevate the industry in that way? And whilst it's quite a cynical way to look at it and go, oh, they'd make money, yeah, of course but they ultimately may garner more fans, which I think is what you were trying to get at in terms of, they essentially make a new gamer out of someone, right? Again, quote unquote gamer.
Yeah.
So speaking of the industry, we had an interesting memo get sent out by GameStop in America this week. So I'm taking this quote from NASDAQ and Anders Spyland. He said, in a memo to GameStop locations across the country, the company asked for its store managers to resist any attempts to close their business over coronavirus fears, and this was confirmed by Vice and Kotaku. Due to the products we carry that enable and enhance our customers' experience in working from home, reads the memo, we believe GameStop is classified as essential retail and therefore is able to remain open during this time, the memo says. The document then asks law enforcement officers to call GameStop's headquarters if they don't accept this policy. This was hilarious. Another, following on from your conversation, Chunt, and with a lot of the world being in areas that have at least decent internet, I mean, even Australia, which is 68th in the world, if I have to download a game, I can. Most of these plans are unlimited, and if you can't download a game, you can go online and therefore order that game and get it sent to your house, where therefore you don't have to go into a shopping center, go to a JB Hi-Fi or GameStop or whatever, and go in contact with people to touch a bunch of games that other people have touched. Like, you just get it sent to you. I don't understand. Sorry, I understand why they're trying to do it, but I don't know how they can get away with saying that it's a essential retail to keep open.
It's audacious.
So I think in America at the moment, like, essentials are qualified as as supermarkets, maybe post office, I think, and pharmacies and that, and then even restaurants can stay open but only takeaway or something like that. So yeah, I just thought that was hilarious. I don't know what you guys thought.
It is hilarious. Like, let's put it down to brass tacks. Will you die if GameStop isn't open?
But what if I can't go and get myself a new mouse or keyboard or webcam because Amazon are out of stock?
Yeah, but will you die? If I,
if I can't talk to you guys on the internet, I might just die.
You know,
I might just die.
like,
if I can't talk to you guys on the internet, I might just die.
Yeah, true. My heart will break. That's for sure.
No, it's absolutely.
And I feel
it's crackers.
I
isn't it?
feel sorry for the people working there because GameStop are saying if law enforcement are trying to shut you down, you resist them. So you're either going to get arrested, or if you don't do it, GameStop fires you, and then during a coronavirus, you have no job, and there's not going to be a lot of hirings happening. It's just a shitty thing to do for a company to do. To put them in that
I expect them to recant on this before the weekend's over. I expect
probably by the time
they
this
will
is
not
out.
open next week. I think they'll be pushed back. It's caught a bit of fire, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, we've just had the same thing put in here today. If you're not a supermarket or a pharmacy, you got to close. You know, gyms, clubs, pubs, cafes, restaurants, other than takeout. That's all happening here now as well. So I can tell you that Game, who are the subsidiary of GameStop in the UK, are closed. They have not stayed open. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I don't expect them to honour it for too long though.
No.
Yeah, Australia hasn't been hit too hard with that stuff yet. Most people are just playing it safe and being like, well, when you go home, stay home and drive to work and
buy 9,000 toilet rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my partner, we decided that when we have takeaway, we'll have takeaway each week and just go and get it from like some of the local places. So not your KFCs or your Macca's, just like, you know, a Thai restaurant down the street or anything like that.
Local, yeah.
Just to help them continue to bring in some money to keep the doors going all right.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
support small business. We were having the same conversation over dinner tonight. Like, it is that whole, if restaurants are allowed to stay open to do takeout and it's Saturday night and you're grabbing a takeaway, let's not, Macca's, Domino's, Burger King, whatever. Like, no, like, go local, keep a small business open. You know, you have no idea how much that, meal for two might go to paying someone's wages or keeping the lights on. So, yeah, definitely advocate for that. And also
then come home and play some games together.
Yeah, play as many games as you can. And as you said,
Play
Sean,
with
like,
yourself.
there's so many options and so many new people coming through the door, and they're getting a bunch of good deals. And no end of 50, 60, 70, 80% off games coming through to my inbox being like, oh, we've got a sale on Steam, we've got a sale on this. Like,
I saw a PlayStation mega
Xbox
sale
and
or something
PlayStation,
happened
there's
yesterday.
discounts everywhere, and it's good to see them kind of doing their bit. Happy days.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this podcast up. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you, Chunt. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate the talk.
Anytime, boys. Anytime.
And next week we can actually go back to that original planned topic of like games of the generation, because that got hijacked by all this crazy news this week.
Yeah,
Indeed.
absolutely. Anyway, tune in next week and we'll see you then.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.